Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm here with my all-in, give it her all, 110% co-host, and her name is...
Rachel, hi, Chris.
So, Rach, I said, give us your all 110% because, people who've been following us and listening to us are, giving it their 110% and, going through all these podcasts and growing and evolving. And it's been amazing. And I know you and I have also been making huge strides just between the two of us. So I'm just reflecting on something that you said to me recently about the concept of being all in, and you were using the example of being all in a relationship. And now there's kind of not an 80%, not an 80-20 rule here, right? It's like there's not an 80-20. And it's like being a little bit pregnant, right? You're either in or you're out. You either are or you're not. And I thought, we've been talking about dating. We've been talking about relationships. We've talked about a lot of different things in that frame on our podcast. And I thought, let's jump in here because I would imagine that you have a lot to say about this. And I can certainly add because even though, again, as we've established many times, I am not a dater, but nonetheless, I am someone who's very experienced in relationships and definitely have a lot of friends and impacts and feedbacks about this relationship conversation. So why don't you hit us off and tell us what you are thinking?
Well, and I don't even, yes, it definitely applies to dating. I have so much to say about this, but it also applies to like marriage, relationships, long-term
Oh, yeah.
relationships. And it can apply to, your friendships and, your close family relationships, all of that. The idea is like, if you're not all in, you're not going to get that much back from it. And the piece of that is like, as I was talking to a friend who's been dating, and they're like, well, just, I'm not sure. And, this things. And I was like, either you're in or you're out. Like, either you're going to do this or not do it, but don't do it halfway because that's not going to help anybody in this situation. It's not going to help you. It's not going to get you closer to what you want because what you are asking for is you want a long-term committed relationship, maybe move into marriage. Great. Amazing. That's not going to happen by giving 50, 80, even 90%.
Oh.
Because they are hard work and they require a lot of commitment. And the other piece is when we are not all in, we are holding pieces of us back.
Yes.
And then that person, whoever is on the other side of this relationship, never knows you fully.
Totally.
And so then you're like, then they're not even really dating you. They're only dating parts of you.
And then you're mad at them for not being all into you, and you're like, "Why?" They're like, "I don't even know who you are." Like,
yeah, like, I don't know that other part of you. What are
how
you
can you be
talking
mad
about?
at me? I'm into the part that likes ice cream and goes to dinner with me, but I don't know about the rest of it.
Exactly. Like, and some people are like, no, I'm keeping that crazy part out for now. And I was like, no, I think let the crazy part go. Like, get it all in there.
Let it rip. I agree with you.
Yeah. And part of it, it is too, because you want whatever, I don't care if it's dating relationship or a very close friend, you want them to know you deeply, fully, wholly. The only way they're going to do that is if you lean in. And when you lean in, I mean, like really lean in, the only time I have had someone lean back in is when I lean in hard. No one is ever like, oh, she's leaning in 50%. I'm going to lean in 110 now. Like, I mean, maybe
That's so
sometimes.
true.
But,
Yeah, that's so true.
it's always like, it's a little bit of the idea of vulnerability. We all have to do, we all have
It's a
to
little
do
bit of a trust fall too, like you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you want that, if you want that kind of deep, committed, like friendship, relationship, marriage, like you have got to, like, it's all in or none, in my opinion. And being able to not even just energetically, but all of you, all parts of you are leaning in. Like, you don't reserve the little craziness for the, like, I'll save that for later. Don't.
Yeah.
Because the other part of it is like, how are you going to know if this is a good friendship or relationship unless you lean in? You're always like holding something back and you won't know. And then, whatever, 2 years from now, you're like, okay, now I'm really going to lean in. And then all of a sudden the person's like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, they're gone
So
because they don't even know you, and they're making assessments and evaluations based on what you've given them, and if you've given them, almost like a misrepresentation, right? Or you've given them a almost false advertising because, it's like the first time you have, like, a good fight or something, they're like, "Whoa." I did not see that coming. I did not know you had that in you.
um,
It's like, well, let's have some of those mini moments, if you're someone who could be quick to anger or you're someone who has, like,
yes.
is very opinionated or whatever, but, like, let a little bit of that dribble out for sure because you don't want that to be, like, hidden, 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 and all of a sudden it's like the one big whoa moment of, like, what just happened? Who are you? I don't even know who you are, you know?
Yeah, and even, like, like you're saying, like, an argument or something, some kind of disagreement where they get to see all parts of you. The other piece is, like,
Yeah.
have you like, when you get sick with someone, like, someone's sick, like, or you're sick, they get to know another side of you, like, the
Oh,
vulnerable side, the
yeah.
side that
The
doesn't feel
whiny,
so
they're
lifted.
yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
they
totally.
I am a very independent human. I'm like, "I got it." But when I'm sick, I don't got it anymore, like, I need some help, and that taps into a whole different side of me that I'm just like, "Well,
Totally. Can you just get me the tissues? They're just right there. I'm so hungry. Can you just
I
get me
know."
I was like, can you please get me a smooth I'm, like, sitting, like, on the bed however long ago, right? "Can you just get me a smoothie, please? I just"
Yeah. Exactly, and you
I
those
never expected the independent version of me. They'd be like, "Wait, what? Don't you just order your own smoothies?" Like, "No, I can't even do that." Like, I can't even get that far.
can't get there. Yeah, so the piece of, I think people wanna show up as their best self, especially early on in friendships and relationships and dating, they wanna be their best self, so they're like, "No, no, no,
Yeah.
like, that day's not gonna be a good day to see me, I'm gonna be tired, whatever," and I'm like, "Heck no." I go in, like, be like, "Yeah, come see me, I'm gonna just be a mess, like, come check it out, see
Right,
if you
yeah.
can handle
If you
it,
could
like,
handle a
maybe."
little bit of yeah, like,
Yeah, like, "I didn't sleep
Kleenex
well, I
around
don't
and
care."
some sore throat spray, come on over.
I know,
As
but
long
even
as I'm not contagious.
yeah, but even those nights that you're like, "Oh, I didn't sleep well," like, "Oh, I just don't," and I'm like, "No, that's actually when I wanna see you. I wanna see you when you don't sleep.
Yes, this is
I
so
wanna
true.
see
This is
you
so
when you've had a
yes.
crappy day. I wanna see you when,
Mhm.
like, your pipe bursts in your house. Like, I really wanna see you then." And people are like, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Yeah, I do, because I wanna see all of you." And
This is
these
so interesting because I've had little events at my house where, there's just like 5 or 6, women and whatever, and, one of the friends will say, to your point, she'll say like, I just like, I'm not really in a good mood and I really don't wanna, like, bring everyone down and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's kind of on you to bring people down or to whatever. I understand. I appreciate that as a concept. But to your point, it's like, well, that's you giving 100% and that's us giving 100%.
right.
Right? Because that's a two-way street, right? So
Yeah.
if you're gonna come in and you're gonna give us 100%, that we wanna know that 5%.
Yeah.
We wanna know that 5% because we wanna be able to meet you where you are, and if where you are right now is the lowest 5% of what you have to give, then, bring it. Bring
Right.
it, and,
Yeah.
like, that's the whole point of being, friendships and having the balance, and, because right now we can give
Yeah.
more, you can give less, but, at least we know that you're human. We're not judging
Yeah.
you for that, you know?
Well, and that's so true is because
Especially if you gave us a disclaimer before you came,
I
it's
know,
just
you're like,
like,
"I'm
well,
having a
we were
crappy day."
forewarned and we said, "Carry on," right? Come on over,
Right.
so it's on us too, right?
Well, and that is a really, especially for girlfriends, I would say, that's actually when I wanna be around them because, I
Yeah, it
know
doesn't
that
bother
when
me
I'm
either. Yeah.
when I am I mean, I guess that would be more my litmus test with my girlfriends is, like, when I'm not at my best and they still wanna be around me, and,
Yeah, because
and that
sometimes we're just, like, in a funk, and it's like, you don't wanna be
Yep.
around people who are, like, can only accept you when you're at your most yeah, like, okay, save that for work, save that for your speech to the UN or whatever, like, like, this is friendship, this is raw and unfiltered. So, yeah,
Yes.
like, that's you don't wanna have to be, curating yourself for every situation with
Yeah.
your friends. Like, that's not the point, there's plenty of people in the world that you have to perform for on a daily basis, right? So, yeah, I love what you're saying, and that is part of the 10%. I told you my father-in-law has this concept about being married, and he's like, 95% of the time, you don't need your spouse. It's not like I need, oh man, I needed it out. But 5% of the time you really need them. And that's when you as the other spouse like really need to show up. It's kind of your same concept here, right? It's like that 5% when you're feeling cruddy or you've got like a broken shoe or whatever, and you've got a 5-mile walk to do. That's when you want people to see you, and you don't want to have to perform. If you're feeling cruddy about that,
Yeah.
you want to be able to say, like, I broke my shoe and I have this 5-mile walk and I'm really feeling cruddy about it. And what we've said before, you've done such a good job of saying this. Like, what do you need? Do you want me to pump you up? Do you want me to just listen? Do you want to vent? Do you want to not want
Yeah.
me not to say anything? Like, what do you need from me? And yeah, I am in. I am 100% in. I'm not just here for the 90% when you don't have a broken shoe.
Yes, exactly. And for family, for friends, for partners, all of that, you want to know that it doesn't matter, right? It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter if
matter,
you're
right?
coming in at like low or high or whatever that they are. And I know I'm a generally a very positive person, right? Like I love that. It is something that
Yeah, it's who you
it's
are.
it's who I am, right? I
Yeah.
have my bad days. I have my days
Oh,
that
me
like I'm
too. Sure
tearful
do.
and I'm
Yep.
heavy or I'm processing something. And I remember I was dating someone and they're like, "Wow, yeah, wow, that's really looks like a struggle." And I was like, "Nope, this is part of the package." This is like
Yeah.
I'm not this all the time, right? Like I have my days and yes, I am a very positive, outgoing, energetic person and I have a lot of energy. But there are days that I'm tired. There are days that I'm down. There are days that like I'm tearful. There are days and I'm like and if you expect me to be that other person all the time, that's not up. Like that's not true. That's not real. That's not who I
It's not
am.
true. Right. I mean, you're a
Well,
human. You're a human being, right? So it's like, do you want this controlled, inaccurate version of who I am as a
right,
non-human robot? Then yeah, that's what that is. That's actually really helpful information, even on the acceptance frame, right? Because we are grateful, not greedy, right? Accept what
right,
is. What is, we're all human and we all have different ways of expressing that humanity. Honestly, for me personally, Rach, uh, it, I, I struggle when people don't give me all of them. Like, I struggle, and I have, like, a spidey sense for that, and to
mhm,
me, if it's fake, it's not representative of who you are. You are trying to hide from me, you're trying to give me some other version because what? I don't know. I mean, like, maybe I'm scary, maybe you're insecure. I don't know. I'm not gonna try and figure it out. I'm just gonna distance myself from this relationship because I know that I'm not getting it's not going in the direction that I want to go with my relationships. It's not going in the direction that I'm going to be comfortable giving you 100% because you're comfortable giving me 100%. So yeah, I would say it's almost one of my like kind of red flags in friendships. I would imagine in relationships too, but I mean like in romantic
yeah,
relationships that this would get people because especially when you're willing to put all things on the court. And that's not to say, I was just out with some girlfriends last night, having dinner, and there's some stuff going on with some of them and other ones. And I understand when you don't want to be forthright about everything that's going on in your life. I'm not talking about like there's things that you want to keep private and I'm saying like, oh, you need to tell me all your stuff. No, not like that. But just to say, hey, yeah, I'm kind of going through some stuff right now and it's sucky and I wish I weren't going through it, or I'm managing it well, or I don't think I'm doing a great job managing it. And, everyone could say like, oh, what's going on? What's wrong? Can we fix it? No, I mean, you just want to say like, oh, I just want you to know I'm just going through something. And then we could be there as friends, say like, yeah, that sucks. That's awful. What do you want? What do you need from us? Because we're here for you. We are here for you 100%. So I'm so
yes,
appreciating this conversation. I kind of didn't know where I was going to come in on this conversation. And now that you're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, that really is. It's almost like a trigger for me with
yeah,
um
because
with friends. And
it's, to me, what it's triggering for me too, because to me, it's a sense of withholding. They're withholding some pieces.
yes.
And
Yeah, and
that to
what
me,
like, why
withholding
are you holding back from me?
yeah,
Like, what am I
well,
giving? What sense am I giving you about am I judging you, or maybe I'm not. Like, I'm not, but I
okay.
don't wanna give you that impression either, right?
Yeah, so the withholding part is not necessarily that. It's almost like, to me, withholding is like a sense of lying. right? Of not being
Yeah, okay.
truthful. And so
You're
that
going
is
yeah.
triggering to me in a deep
Oh, for
level.
sure.
So then I'm
Yes.
like, okay,
Yeah,
there's something
visceral.
there that's not being true, that's not being truthful, and that creates great unease for me. And because I
Mhm.
know that creates a great unease for me, I'm very aware that I want to be exactly who I am and with no apologies in all parts of me because I want to show up that way and I expect the other person, the other people in my life to show up that way. And for if for a friendship, a relationship, a connection to really happen, that has to be like they can't be on the table for me. Like there is no
Yeah.
way for me to move forward deeply the way I want to, the way I value relationships, connection, people, all of that stuff. And so it's that 90, like, oh, I'll just give them all these parts. And it's like, no, 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 no. If you really want this
Mm.
deep connection with this person, friendship, family, partners, romantic partner, whatever, you've gotta give all the parts and be, like, just honest. Honest about who you are, honest about the pieces of you, honest about all of these things. Otherwise, we're gonna be sitting here and it's gonna be surprising in 2 years being like, "Who are you?" Like, I never knew
Right.
that," you know? And some people, like, the withholding, whether it's, like, or putting up a mask or whatever it is not gonna you think you're trying to control the situation by
Yes, or
divulging
avoid it
only
or somehow
parts
yeah,
and
somehow you're doing the
only
other person a favor. Yeah,
yeah, you're trying to control the situation by only divulging the parts that you think that they want, and you're not.
completely.
I need to just show who I am and not try and control if that person likes me or not. I just show who I am. Then I'll find out, is that person a good connection for me? Maybe yes, maybe no. And not everyone is supposed to be. Not everyone. I
No.
mean, if that was true, dating would only be once, right?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
And
Yeah, everyone
and
just
we
like
would
match up and that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we would still have the same friends that we had in
It'd be
kindergarten.
like a conveyor belt, the sushi conveyor belts, and you just grab anyone, doesn't really matter. It's
Doesn't
not
really
fine.
matter. No, and that's not the purpose of it.
Sure.
The purpose of it is not to have the conveyor belt, but to find out if that person is someone that you want to connect with. If that person is someone that they want to connect with you, you want to connect with them. And by sharing all of yourself and being confident in that is the way to do that. But then when you think if I only show you these parts of me, Chris, then you will like me. It's a way to try and manipulate the
To
situation
manipulate. Yes,
and then it's
completely.
not getting
More
us
triggers, Rach.
I know.
Yes.
It's not getting us what we want. Like, this is that 100%. You have to be in, all the in, like, all the crazy, all the weird, all the whatever, and I keep saying, like, I always say, I'm like, "Don't change, like, be exactly who you are." Like, please be exactly who you are
Yeah.
because
Yeah, give me the give me the respect, I think it kind of is, and vice versa. Let me give you the respect of showing me that, of showing me the 100%. Not just showing, there are plenty we have enough superficial relationships in our lives to last us for millennia, right? I don't need any more superficial relationships. We had those with the clerk at the grocery store. We had those with our kids' teacher. We have those
so
with our neighbors half the time, whatever. Like we have plenty of those. That that lane is filled. Superficial relationships here. But if you want to be in a relationship and call someone a true friend, right? Or call someone, someone who can really be there for you or that you would be there for them, you almost like you need that information. It's disrespectful not to provide that information to that person. The times when you are sick and in the hospital or where you are going through something. I mean, I can speak even about, when my son was sick with leukemia, which is a really difficult time for me. And, a lot of people don't appreciate that, I wasn't like, oh my God, my son has leukemia. No, 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 no. But that's also like, that's another piece of information about me. I am actually giving you information by not being the person who wants to tell you everything about my son having leukemia. That's not
yeah.
helpful to me. Right. So let's distinguish that too, because I'm not hiding from you. In fact, if you're paying attention, I'm giving you really solid information about who I am. I'm giving you really solid information about how I conduct myself, about how I live my life, about how I don't have room for you and your concern over my son right now. Like I only have room for my own concern and my husband's and my, my own children and stuff like that. So I'm the other way to think about this is it's not just like because I don't give you information that you can assume that I'm like, oh, she's just not telling us anything that's going on. Like my son has leukemia. That's enough. That information is enough. You have been told everything you need to know. Now, if you want to follow up and you want to send me a little note and you want to, we talk about this all the time, right? That doesn't preclude you from being an awesome person and saying like, hey, Chris, I can imagine that this is really difficult for you. Like we talked about before in the, how do you talk to your kids, so they'll listen, how to listen so your kids will talk. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, just put words in my mouth. I imagine this is really difficult. No, it's actually not difficult, but it is difficult, right? But it's not this, it's that. But then you're given the opportunity to see who I am. And who I am is, I'm not hiding from you. I'm someone that needs a lot of my own energy. I am classic introverted extrovert, right? I need a lot of processing time. I need a lot of alone time. And that is all information that you can then take and say, she's all in. If I didn't want to be all in, you wouldn't even know, you wouldn't even be invited to any of this conversation, right? So let's distinguish that too, because even part of our responsibility about being all in is also paying attention to the information that's being given to us, paying attention to the information that's being provided to us, and not just assuming that someone's not sitting there pouring their heart out or divulging everything, that they're not communicating with us, because they are, by their body language, by their, their willingness to show up and not talk. When you're talking about like those times when you feel cruddy and your friends are getting together and you're like, okay, I'm going to go, but I'm just not feeling awesome. Well, I'm giving you information about me in that moment. So, you can either accept it or not accept it. That's grateful, not greedy. You can choose the acceptance train or not. But you're being provided with information. And if you'd like to be all in, part of you being all in or me being all in that situation is taking the information that's given to you in a grateful, not greedy kind of way.
Absolutely. And this is when you take this conversation and apply it to family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Family is usually a long-term thing, right? Like there are
Yeah,
different
I mean,
times.
yes. Even when something tragic happens, it's still a long-term thing because that relationship has existed in your life, so it still lives on.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it still lives on. But what I mean is like, when people get married and someone gets rolled into the family, that's like a
Oh, I
new,
see.
yeah, that's a new addition. You're like, okay, I'm
Totally.
an adult and now I have a new addition to the family. Okay, so now you're
Yeah,
involved with someone new. But in general, these relationships, these family relationships end up being long term. Now,
yeah.
me being me at 20 is very different than me being me in my 50s now. And
Correct.
so it's not just at my 20s, I probably didn't think about withholding or whatever. But now as I've moved through life, I realize like some of my family members don't get to see all parts of me. And I wonder why the
Yeah,
relationships aren't where I want, or they are also doing the same thing, right? And so then the
yeah.
question is like, I know them from years ago deeply. I don't know them now as who they are now.
That's right.
And I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm actually showing and leaning in and giving 100%. And why is that? And that's where, we think, okay, our family relationships, or even like, you can talk about your marriage here, like,
yeah.
you can't neglect those things because it's a living, breathing thing of these family relationships. And they
Totally.
continue to evolve. And the question is, are you evolving with them? Like, is the
Mhm.
relationship evolving with that time too? Because I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, I'm aware that I need to lean in dating. I am aware that like I want to show up
It's
as
challenging though. I mean, no one's faulting you. It's challenging,
no,
right?
it is, and I'm learning. I'm very much learning to do that. I think, and like go in, go hard. I go in
Yeah.
100%. So that
That's
piece,
right. And if you're saying you want that on the other side, then you better be bringing it on your side. Yeah, that's like the pot calling
exactly,
the kettle black, right?
totally,
Yeah, looking glass houses.
exactly. And then when
Totally.
I look at the family piece, I'm like, okay, I am not doing that there, and neither is
Mm,
the other family member. And I was like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And it could be a lot of reasons, like because we think we already know each other because we've had this long-term relationship. And marriages, this happens a lot. You've been
Totally
married a
trying to
long
keep the
time.
peace. You're just kind of like, yeah, that's just the way
Yeah.
they are,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
I know them. I've been married to them for 20 some odd years, 30,
Exactly. Let
like
me put
whatever.
them in the box that they were when we got married
Totally.
35 years ago. Yeah.
And that's not who they are now. They are a
No,
very different
it's
person, just as
impossible.
you are a different person, just as the relationship between when two people come together, they form their that creates its own entity in a marriage. It's not
Exactly.
two individuals.
Yes.
There's another energy that's created there. And that one continues to evolve. And you have to learn that one all the time. Same thing with families. Same thing with family relationships is you don't want to
Hmm.
take it for granted. You can't be like, okay, they know me for that long. I've been married that long. My family member's been my family member forever and will always be. And therefore, I do not need to give it 100%. And that is where I'm looking now and being like, wait a second, that doesn't align with who I am. That doesn't
Yeah, like
align.
even the aging process, like you just think so many things change you over the course. Obviously, your experiences of life change you, but even just the aging process itself changes you. Physically you're changing, mentally then sometimes that goes along with the physical changes. And yeah,
Yes.
there's just a lot of differentiation between who you are now and who you were 5 years ago or 15, definitely 25 years ago. Maybe you have the same character, maybe you're the same level of integrity, maybe that's all protected, but just the experience of life and your views on things, your political stance, I mean, who knows? Like a lot of stuff changes and it's worth investigating that. You're right. What you're saying is really interesting to me when I was talking about this, being like a sociologist at heart. It's interesting to me because you're talking about the reciprocity in a relationship. So you're talking about the concept of one person being all in and the other person not, or both people being in at 80 and thinking they do have a relationship. Of course they have a relationship, but they really don't know each other that well. So, I mean, we've talked about this many times. Like, I feel like I know you very well. Why? Because we sit on calls like this. And even before this podcast, we sat on calls like this, in different ways, for their WhatsApping and for, sharing with each other and going back and forth. And so, but through that way, we both probably been extremely vulnerable and, have a lot of experience in sharing with each other in ways that get us to know each other like really, really well, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I think you're very correct, and it's the reciprocity piece that is very defining here in what you're saying because if especially let's you bring it back to the dating conversation, right? So it, I have been with people even recently and have said like, oh, I'm single or I'm this, and I was like, well, okay, well, be careful because you might be single today, but in 12 hours your life could change, and they just look at you like, what? Like you almost haven't thought about it, but you realize it's true.
Yeah.
It's one day you're living your life, you're on your apps or you're, having dinner with your friends or something like that. And the next 12 hours later, someone, like you do one of those exchanges on the apps and then you agree to meet up and you're meeting up and you actually like them and they actually like you and things are moving and you're in a different situation. And now guess what? You are a different person.
Yeah.
You are now a different person. You are changed from that interaction. And then going forward, then you might not be a quote single person anymore, right? So even that, like that part about leaning in, that part about being like accepting of all that's coming to you or a part of your life, if you want to be in a committed, relationship that's giving and loving and generous and all that, then you better be 100%. You better be 100% of all of those things that you prioritize as the highest level importance in your relationships and not be the one like, oh, he never opens up, he never says anything, he never da 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 da. And that could be personality based, could be that you're not a safe person, could be that he doesn't like that or she doesn't like that. It
Huh.
could be any myriad of things, but your job is not to worry about them. Your job is to worry about yourself and to be all in.
Absolutely. And that is true in all the pieces, like whether definitely in dating and then all the other relationships. But when I look at dating or, because that's my realm,
That's your domain. Yes. That's what I hope.
um,
Yes. That's your I don't know if that's your safe space, but that's definitely your, what do they call it? Sphere of influence. That's your sphere of influence, right?
Yeah. It, I I did not, you're right. In an instant, it can change. Like you can meet someone and
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm in a different place now. And then you make choices and decisions every step of the way of how you show up, how you lean in, how you communicate, what you say, what you don't say. All of those pieces are bits of information. And also what I'm realizing is the more I step in to exactly who I am, how I want, and and what I want to attract, the more I put that out is what I get back. Right.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
this is part of the process of like, it's not, if I really want some deep, beautiful, committed, awesome experience in a relationship, I better put that out for myself, like put that
Yeah.
out there and show
Yeah.
up that way. And I think one of the things that happens these days is both people know no one wants to do that. They're kind of
Yeah, no
like,
one
all
wants to say anything. They don't
nobody
wanna
wants
say
to step
anything.
inside.
They
Like
don't
there's
wanna
like
have the
this.
conversation. They don't I was just I mean, I think I can talk about this. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and, you and I are pretty adept at this kind of conversations and, bringing things out of people and then being forthright in our like, we kinda know the way to tap to approach these things, I feel like. We spent a lot of time developing these skills, right? So, kinda sharing a little bit of that with a friend to say, like, "Okay, this is kind of how you would approach that conversation," and I was saying, like, it's essential that you have this conversation. It is essential that you have the skill. It is essential that you get over this barrier of not wanting to have the conversation or not being responsible for, saying what works for you or whatever, and letting the other person have their own choices that may or may not be aligned with yours. But if you hide from these conversations or you hide from these touch points, then not only are you not going to be able to be there 100%, but you certainly cannot expect that person to meet you, at 100% because you're not there. You're at 75, and he or she is at 100. Like those are not meeting those. It's not a blended average. I think that's kind of
Mm,
the thing that everyone's maybe hoping that, oh, if I'm like here and they're there, that we'll kind of blend and somewhere in about the 87 range will like it'll all work out. No, because these conversations don't happen in the 87% range.
yeah.
You and I both know this. These conversations happen at the 99th percentile.
Yes.
They happen in the upper echelon of relationship building. They happen in the hey, can I grab 10 minutes of your time? I'd really like to, there's something that I'd like to talk to you about. Oh, sure. Is it da, 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 da? And you could say, hey, it's not nothing to be alarmed about. It's not an emergency. There's just something that or a couple things that I'd like to review with you, or I'd like to see how things are going. And guess what? Now that person has this like urgency about it, or maybe they feel, all anxious about it. That's training too, because as you have more of these conversations, you get more comfortable with your own authenticity. You create that space for other people to be comfortable with their authenticity, especially in your presence, especially, with their interactions with you, right? Because you are that person. You're not just faking it. You're not saying, "Hey, I'd really love if we could have an authentic conversation. And I'm not going to tell you anything, but I want you to, I'm going to manipulate you and I'm not going to give you all the information. I'm going to kind of trap you into this and then zing you at the end." No, you are definitively a safe space for someone to explore their emotions while you're exploring your emotions, and that's all safe, and that happens at 99.9 percentile of the relationship basis. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the piece, that is missing is it's like, well, I'm not gonna lean in if they don't lean in, right?
Right.
And someone
Totally.
has like, you're in stalemate,
Good for
right?
you. Great.
And I
You're
was
gonna
like,
be stuck at
you know,
75.
and there's
Yeah.
like, I've had my girlfriend say to me, she's like, well, if you lean in, they don't lean in, you fall flat on your face. I was like, great, I know how to stand myself back up and move along. Like I am no,
Information.
yeah, I
But
am
don't you
no
wanna know
problem.
that? Don't you wanna know that a month in versus 30 years?
Yes, I actually wanna know that a weekend. Like, I don't
How
care.
big is that? Yeah, exactly. The first
So,
the first 12 hours.
right. Come on now.
Are you gonna meet me? Or not even like, "Can you meet me here right this minute?" Are you the person that's because there's trust building, there's a little bit of stuff
Yes,
that needs to
I
go on,
know.
sure, right? But certainly to be working on your own skills of acceptance and tolerance, to be able to be receptive of those conversations coming at you, not to feel attacked or dismissed, or
Yes.
kind of have all your trigger signs up and like be in attack mode for that person, defensive and all that. Just to be listening and curious and available, and really being able to evaluate the vulnerability that someone else would take, even vis-a-vis you. Obviously, I think we can do a little bit of teaching and guiding here, because the way to have these conversations in creating vulnerability is to start with the I statements. You know, I understood it this way, or I feel this when X happens, or I have some of these triggers based on some previous relationships or some previous experiences that I'm working on, like I this, I that, not, well, you never told me that, or I feel like you aren't being truthful with me, or, you should have XYZ, right? These are all ways to break down vulnerability, to break down conversations, and you're not going to get to that 100% if that's the basis of the words that you choose in conversation. These are skills, right? These are skills to build. There are books to read. There are very good articles to read about this. There are great YouTube videos to watch about this. There's a great podcast called Grateful Not Greedy to listen to a lot of these concepts, to just become more comfortable, even if you have to write notes. I mean, as I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I said, honestly, I would have this conversation on the phone. And you think, oh, this needs to be a conversation in person, but it's very disarming if you have this conversation on the phone and you have a couple little notes when you're just learning to have these conversations, right? When you're learning to be
Mhm.
more vulnerable yourself, and you're learning to be a safe space for someone else. If you have a conversation on the phone, you can have your couple of little notes, things that you want to say.
Mhm.
And also, being on the phone makes it less serious. It makes it like you're just really having a conversation about something that's going on. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, we're going to break up, or, oh, I'm never going to see you again, or you're to store him off or whatever. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, hey, we're just going to have a phone conversation. We're just going to catch up on the phone. No big deal. No big what.
Yeah, I think the fear of failure in relationship is like, if I'm gonna lean in and they don't lean in, then that's like me failing or like me not being accepted. I'm like, the whole point of this is to find if there is a
A
match,
match.
right? Like, to find if there is a connection. And I'm like,
Mhm.
and if we keep not trying to connect, we're never gonna find out. It's not only this cut
And
this.
the last thing you want as an evolved human is to be with someone who doesn't have the skills of connection, who doesn't have the skills to meet you in connection. Y- y- it- uh, it's exhausting, and it's challenging. It's also demoralizing, right? To be in those situations where you're like, I'm giving you bid after bid after bid after bid after bid after bid of connection bidding, and you're giving me the red flag. You're giving me the stop, the checkers are down. You're giving me that I'm not available for that, and it's demoralizing, to be in those situations. So of course you want to find that out. I think importantly, in what you're saying, what I could see from that conversation is more the disclosure of feelings, and the thinking that all in means like, oh, I love you and I da 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 da, right? So I think that we could clarify that in this conversation too, because it's to say, if they're saying, well, I'm going to lean in and they're not, well, uh, I don't think you're saying that, oh, by leaning in, I mean like, oh, I'm really infatuated by you, or I love you, and then they don't say I love you back or something like that. We're talking about, yeah, that might be part of it down the line. Who knows? Whatever, if that's where you are, but evaluate that too. What is love? What are you really saying when you say I love you? Just like I said, however many podcasts ago, I think it'd be pretty traumatic half the time if someone's in love with me, because it's like, what does that mean when you say I love you? So how would you, like, what's that about? What's that about for you? So being able to kind of distinguish what is like leaning in, leaning in might be like, oh, I really love you. And leaning in might be, hey, I'd love to talk to you about something that's bothering me, or I'd love to have a conversation with you about something that's going on for me that's difficult and challenging.
Okay, it's definitely not, this is not the conversation about like, I'm gonna lean in and love you and like go and love bombing. It's being authentically you. being all parts of you unapologetically, like just being you. And when I say lean in, meaning, you know, lean in, meaning show up where you're at and see if the person steps into that space, or you step into their space, and what that is and how that, how you both react in those situations. It's not like I'm not going to be like walking and being like, love you, here we go. It is really about being you, not withholding, not hiding, not any of that. Whatever feelings deepen or evolve or come out of that, great. Divulge those as you are ready to, and and you feel like you have a clear understanding of them. But the idea of 100% like not withholding parts of yourself, and sharing those, I think, to me, that's where I say, like, lean in, give 100%. And because that's what I want out of any relationship in my world these days, is I don't have the time and the space for anything less now.
Mhm.
Because, you and I have talked a lot about like how our time is incredibly valuable, how
Yep.
our attention is incredibly valuable. Both
Yeah.
of those things are incredibly valuable. So if I'm going to invest those into you, invest those into us, into our relationship, I want to know you're showing me who you are and I am showing you who I am, and we are authentically ourselves. And that is where the deep connection can happen. And that is where the trust is built and the vulnerability is built and all of that. When that's not there, that's when it feels kind of like we're both like almost doing a dance of like, are you gonna come in? Are you? Like, is this gonna be okay? Like, are we skating on thin ice? Like all of that.
Yeah.
Those feelings, that discomfort, that you could feel it in your body, like anxiety will come up. And that those are the moments where you can step back and be like, okay, that's not happening. And it doesn't mean that if you're feeling that in something, I usually acknowledge it. It's not that I'm like, "Oh, man, this person's not leaning
The
in."
anxiety
I'm
or the
I'm
concern, that kind of stuff, you
right.
mean?
Or
Yeah.
I can tell that they're not leaning in, and
Yes.
I'm outta here. That's not where
Yeah.
I go with it. I go with
No.
it and be like, "Okay, like, I feel like there's something that's
Holding you
missing."
back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want you to be you. I want you to be 100% you. I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to be any different than exactly who you are and who you are today. Who
Yes.
knows who you're gonna be tomorrow? I don't care who you were last year. I don't care who you were yesterday. I want you to be exact who you are, and to acknowledge that. And sometimes giving permission is essentially all they need, or
Yes.
sometimes all I need, right?
Right.
But I am realizing very, very quickly that that is what I want to attract. So that is what I put out
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
all levels. And
Yeah. I I think even as you're talking about it, and then we'll kind of, wrap up in the next few minutes just because we're running out of time. But what I want to focus on in just what you were talking about is that even the like the I love you or I feel this way about you. One, how do you know that if you haven't had vulnerability? How do you know that if you
yeah,
haven't shared at the 100% level? How do you know that? What are you basing that on, right? Because love, true love, is accepting and taking that other person, right? So if you're taking that other person as part of you, then how do you even know what you're taking? What's the deal? What's the bargain? What's the, what am I, like, what am I engaging in? And the other piece being the I love you conversation or the, oh, I feel this about you, or I've got, all the warm fuzzy, that's different, right? That's just kind of like the excitement of the infatuation. But if you're ready to, kind of be in that emotional conversation, it's almost like that's about them. So yes, you're having those feelings, but you're projecting that. Like you want that feeling to be reciprocated, or you want there to be an answer, you want there to be something coming back to you, and you want that to be that's about the exchange. That's not just vulnerability. Not like, "Oh, I poured my heart out. I told him or her how I felt." And I would just challenge that, right? That's not really the vulnerability. That's not giving you information. That's not allowing the free flow information of exchange in the vulnerability set. Because what if that person isn't ready? What if they aren't there yet? Now you're in a whole other can of worms for no reason, right? Because you haven't built up the level of vulnerability that everyone feels comfortable that when you reach these levels, I would imagine, I mean, it's like not easy to reach these levels, right? When you reach these levels of vulnerability, I mean, I think I could use our relationship as an example with someone. There's never a question of if you said something to me that I would think there was any ill will about it. Or if I said something to you, I'm
Yeah.
never assuming that there's ill will about it. I'm never assuming that our relationship might end over this. I'm not assuming that. It might. I don't have to be open to that, but it's not my first thought, or my second or my 12th, right? My first, second, the third thought is, what's going on for Rach? Oh, this is maybe I need to look at this for myself. Maybe I said something that, she's kind of like, oh, when you said that, and it's usually not personal, it's just something in general. And you're giving me guidance of like, oh, you might want to look at that or think about that. And I'm like, oh, useful. Thank you. That's helpful information. So even as people are developing the skills of vulnerability, developing the skill of going all in, leaning into 100%, not 70, 90, whatever, that involves a level of acceptance and availability, acceptance for other people and acceptance of yourself that you can be open with other
Yeah.
people. And it's not about trying to get a result. It's not about trying to get a specific reaction from someone. It's about being open to all the
Sure.
fluidity of what might be in that conversation. You build that. And when you have true trust and, appreciation for the other person, and you have this very, relationship built on a lot of integrity and a lot of trust,
Yeah.
then it's free flowing. It's free for
Yeah.
everybody.
I want to go back to the earlier part of what you just commented on, the love piece. And, I always say, like, I love my girlfriends. Like, I love you. I love, like, I have such deep love
Totally.
for my girls,
Yeah.
like the
I don't
women
think a
in my
day
life.
goes by when I don't
Yeah.
tell one of my girls that I love them.
I know.
They love my
And it is
girlfriends.
like, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always like, yeah, just like so much. And it's so interesting when we date that there's not a different word for that love. Like, you can
Oh,
be
yeah.
dating someone and really love
Oh,
them
yeah.
as a friend, like really love who they are
Just
and
for
love
who they
them.
are as a
And
person.
it's like,
Yeah.
I need someone to make up a different word because I'm like,
So true.
I'm like, wow, I really love this. Like, I love who they are. They are an amazing person. Oh my gosh. Like, I had so much love for them. Very different than being in love with them. And
Yes.
it was interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine's husband, and he's like, I don't even use that word. Like, that word has so much weight. And I was like, oh, too bad. I use it all the time. So then, I use it for my girlfriends. I use it for my son, like every day, twice a day, multiple times. We
Yeah.
both say we love each
Totally.
other. And it's that love. But then when you're dating someone, it's like when you use the love word, you're like, it like creates this thing. And I was like, how do we
All this meaning and everything around it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you can date someone and love them for exactly who they are, but not be in love with them. And how
No,
do
because
you
that's the
distinguish?
acceptance. Yeah, you're really
Yeah,
saying, "I accept you.
the acceptance and
I
the
accept all
like,
of you." Yeah. And I
yeah,
think it's
and the
awesome. Yeah.
connection and who they are. Like, you can definitely love them, and you're like, but I don't know if it's that kind of love yet. Like, that builds
I don't know
that
what I wanna
trust.
do with that. I think that's more the thing when people are like, "I love you." You're almost assuming that you're gonna go somewhere with that. Like, and
I know.
then what? It's like,
Yeah, and I'm
I
like,
just wanna stop the train right here and just, like, have that be a moment.
yeah, and it's a really interesting place to be in, as I navigate this. I'm like, how do we not have different words for this? Like, love, the word, you and I have talked a lot about how everyone
We did
has
a whole
different
podcast on
definitions.
the words and their meanings and
Yes,
just being on the
and
same page and speaking the same language. Yeah,
totally.
exactly. Such a good point.
There's this amazing books called All About Love by Bell Hooks. Amazing book. And
I'll
it's talking
tag it.
about love and
Perfect.
all the definitions of it, all the way it applies. And like one chapter is about romantic. The rest is about all the other love. And it's just
Yeah, the
like,
rest
oh,
is about you
yeah.
and your dog.
And like how you define it, how you develop your definition, all of that. So it is such an interesting piece when you are dating that word is like, oh. And on the flip side, I'm like, our hearts are capable of so much love. We are
Mhm.
capable,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like it's amazing.
This is such a good point that you're bringing
You
up.
and, me, capable of love, absolutely, but watching moms that have many kids, like 4 kids, you've got 4 kids, you
I do.
love them all, like, I see you love
Definitely.
them hard, you
Oh,
love them
yeah.
deeply, and you know what? You even have more capacity to love, which is amazing. Because you have a husband, you have 4 kids, you have, like,
Got
dear
2
friends that you love,
doggies,
family,
got a
dogs.
turtle. Yeah.
We are capable of so much love, but then when we're dating, we're like, "Oh, don't say that word," and I was like, "Why does
Right.
that, like" this is a whole other podcast we can talk about later, but when you were talking about love, I was like, "Yeah, this is an interesting topic for us
But
to
it's so
like,
true. Just and we'll close with that. It's just true in the vulnerability conversation because in the vulnerability conversation, that could even be a conversation. Hey, do you have a couple minutes? I'd love to chat with you. Yeah, sure, whatever. Okay, let's catch up on the phone. Sure, great. I would honestly do this if I were in this situation. I'm not if I were. I'd be like, hey, whoever, I just want to tell you, like I really love who you are. I don't know how to express that to you without saying I love you and having this be like a whole thing. But I just want you to know, as a person, I like this about you. I like this about you. I saw how you treated the lady at the bank. I thought that was amazing.
yeah,
When you ordered this food, you were very respectful to the waiter. I see how you treat your children. Example, example, example. And I just want to tell you, I have a lot of love for you as a person in the world. So do with that whatever you want. I just want to tell you that. you know?
true,
And
true.
that's it. So, but that's part of that. So that's what I'm saying. The vulnerability thing is, I'm not expecting that other person, he, she, they, them, whatever. I'm not expecting that other person to pick it up and do something with it. I'm not manipulating the
No,
conversation.
yeah,
I am
yeah, you're not.
delivering the information and I am giving them a piece of me. I'm
Yeah,
giving them this really beautiful piece of cake and saying, here it is. If you like this chocolate cake, great. If you don't like chocolate cake, that's fine too. I just want you to have it. I want you to know that it's here. It's available to you. And that's a really, I think, critical point, especially to people who aren't as comfortable in these conversations,
mhm,
that you just have a lot, like you said, you have so much capacity to give and to love. And it doesn't have to be in manipulation. It doesn't have to be in wanting something from the other person. And by the way, in that conversation, I'm not scared of that other person at all. I'm not scared of them at all because I'm
yeah,
not. This conversation is about me. It's not about what are they going to say. What
yeah,
are they gonna, what's that gonna mean for them? And I mean, if someone told me they loved all these great things about me and they love me for that, am I gonna be upset? Am I gonna be like, oh my gosh, she loves me so much, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this? Like, oh, now it's like we're getting too close. Well, if you're scared of that, then you're scared of the world, right? We got to just like start
right.
somewhere. So yeah, so I think you just brought up so many good points, and I love it. If you have any final, you can have the final sentence here on the being all in because it's such a crucial conversation, and it's important, I think, for all of us to understand what does it mean to be all in. How do you get to all in, and how do you exhibit that in your relationships?
Yeah, I mean, being all in is showing up 100% you and like owning it, wearing it with pride, like all of those pieces and not being afraid. I think that there's a fear there that exists, especially in the dating world of being afraid. And I'm like, we, and then, fear creates more fear, creates more fear. And I'm also learning showing up and just being loving, kind, and leaning in creates that too. And so,
Yes.
I think just like, where you focus on expands, all of that, those pieces, this is another one. So, like, grateful that I have the opportunity to explore these topics and to dive in because the whole purpose of dating is, yeah, you meet people on the way, but you also get to know yourself deeply in it.
Oh
And
yeah.
that is that
Yes.
is such a gift. I've learned
Hmm.
so much about myself. I have evolved so much through the process. And perhaps that's why people are not as excited about it or fearful of it because it is a deep dive. It is a
Oh
really
yeah.
deep dive when you do
I've
it and
watched
you
you all
do
go
it
through it. I see it. Yeah.
intentionally and with, with that leaning in, there's a lot, it's high risk, but also high rewards. Very, very high.
Hmm. Right, but
No.
yeah, closing on that, the risk at some point once you become involved in that, the risk is only to yourself. The risk is only to yourself, and at the risk of your own personal growth. You can't won't say this or won't get involved this way. So, yeah, I think we could expand this conversation for sure in another podcast because it is like now that we've opened this can of worms, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to say. So, we'll close here with that. Yes, all in. I am all in on this conversation, Rach. 100% up at the 99.9 percentile. And this has been, is, and forever will be the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. Aloha, Rach.
Aloha, Chris.